It is 12:58. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Over the weekend, one day after winning Tennessee Pro Athlete of the Year, handed down by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, Nashville SC midfielder Hani Mukhtar scored his third career hat trick, his second against Chicago in a 3-0 win over Chicago Fire Saturday at Geodis Park. The boys in gold back in action Wednesday in U.S. Open Cup against FC Dallas. Coming up tonight in the NBA, the Knicks and Heat play Game 4 at 6:30. The Heat lead it 2-1. And in the West semifinals, the Lakers and Warriors tip off in L.A. at 9 p.m. The Lakers lead that series 2-1. Just one NHL matchup tonight. It is Game 3, the Western Conference second round between Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights, with that series tied up 1-1. Puck drop coming at 7:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, let's do this. Well, the aftermath of the studio, it's lit in here from Buck's chip challenge. People are telling me, hey, man, don't touch anything that Buck might have dropped crumbs on, and also asking if he's still alive. So he's, in fact, still alive.
He's in the break room, last I saw.
I think he was broke down, man. Almost like when a lot of people would, after the Titans draft, they were start crying. That's where he was at. He had tears rolling down his eyes and told us not to do this.
He looked like people after that Bengals playoff game.
Oh, yeah.
He looked upset.
I wasn't crying. I was more,
Crap!
Yeah, that kind of upset. Not crying upset. Pissed upset. Like, man, come on. We got to do better than this. Yeah, man. So I didn't know what kind of challenge they have going on. I didn't even know nothing about this.
There were multiple bets, right, that you guys made. And each of you had a consequence. Is that correct? Each of you had a consequence for a specific draft-related bet.
Is that why you have that paint on your face?
That's why I have a mustache on my face.
It's hard for me to take you seriously right now.
Yes,
and
it
it's
is.
completely fair. Do you remember it was the day or maybe 2 days before the draft when the NFL put out a draft dress rehearsal that they were doing? And they mocked, like, pretending, okay, they didn't even include trades, said Bears still get the number one pick and they'll take X player that was not anticipated to go in the first. It was a dress rehearsal that the NFL laid out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And they laid out the picks that they quote-unquote mocked for this rehearsal. None of them were players that would be like Jeremy Banks. Like, okay, Texans, you take Jeremy Banks, the Tennessee linebacker with the number 3 pick, or number 2, whatever it was, even though he's not even close to a first-round pick. Well, Emmanuel Forbes was on the list in the dress rehearsal, and we were looking at it saying, oh, well, you don't want to be on this list because if you're on this list, that means you're not going to be they don't think you're going to be a first-round pick, which is why they're using you in this just dress rehearsal mock-up. But Forbes was on there. And, we were saying Forbes would not be a first-round pick. Bert said he was, so he and Buck made a bet that if Forbes goes in the first round, Buck has to do the one chip challenge on air. It's a strange bet. And mine was that the Cowboys would take a tight end, and if they didn't, I had to draw a mustache on my face, which is what happened.
What was that?
I think everybody in America knew they were going to draft the tight end. That's why somebody traded up to get a tight end.
They took Kincaid the pick before. Right? Buffalo did. So
Well,
they take Mozzie Smith, the D lineman.
What
Cowboys.
did Robert have at stake? And then they took a tight end in the second round, of course, just to troll you.
Right. It took, who did they end up with? Shoemaker, I think, was who the Cowboys ended up with.
That's correct.
What did Robert have at stake? Because he came in all sweaty. I said, "Did you have a chip too?" He goes, "No, I've just been laughing a lot."
Well, if Forbes wasn't a first round pick, I would have had to eat the chip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if the Cowboys did take a tight end, he and Buck would have had to shave their facial hair down to a mustache. But since I can't grow a mustache, we had to draw it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, now that we've got all this housekeeping done.
Got it all cleared up?
Several people are asking if Buck is still alive. Hey, I was today years old when I learned something about NFL contracts. Or I was actually when I saw Jim Irsay's tweet. So your contract just goes on forever after you retire? Because Andrew Luck retired, and he had 3 years left on his deal. Was 3 years or over? So there's a report from ESPN that they called that somebody from the Command Skins reached out to Andrew Luck's camp last year. Hey, is he interested in playing some quarterback? His contract time with the Colts was technically over after 2021, but Jim Irsay tweeted about it and basically said it. If you did, in fact, contact him or anybody to do with him, you tampered. This is going to be some trouble. So this would just be the most Daniel Snyder thing ever. I always thought when your contract time ended, if it was a year or two or whatever, if you retired and waited out your contract time, you could do whatever. Everybody says no. Pro Football Talk says no.
So his contract time was up, even though he didn't fulfill that.
Yep.
Well, his may be a little bit different. I don't really actually know the direct answer if I was guessing. Now, remember, they paid him another year of salary, a fully guaranteed salary. And then if they're still paying him, absolutely. But when his contract time is up, I think even the way he retired, I think once your contract's up, I think other teams can negotiate it. It didn't go on forever. I never have heard of that. So that's what you just discovered, that it does.
It says his contract told, meaning that he was still, his playing rights belong to the Colts.
Oh, well, then yeah, if it's that way. But maybe it's the way they put in his contract since they knew they paid him, because that was a big discrepancy to me. How are you paying him another year of fully guaranteed salary? And so maybe they put that in there at that moment when they redid it and said, okay, we'll still pay you for another year's salary. Or at least that's how I understood it anyway, because I thought that was really odd, because typically when you're done, your pay stops immediately in the NFL. There's no guarantee of any contractual anything unless you had it presumably before you retired.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe that they put that clause in there because maybe they were concerned he may want to come back at some point in time. Because I don't think – it was kind of surprising that he retired at the moment, but – you always thought there was a possibility he could come back in a year or two. Maybe he needed a break because he took a beating. They had a horrible offensive line, and he never did. So maybe that's what they put in there to protect. Yeah. So I don't think everybody's contract goes to the end unless they change the verbiage from the time I stopped playing, or my understanding. And maybe you do that for special players, quarterbacks, elite level, talented players, maybe even a guy like Derrick Henry, or guys that's on this whole nother level. Maybe it's in everybody's contract. And this could become a trend. And the reason why I say that is it makes me think, if they're thinking like I'm thinking, the ownership and the CBA is, now with the money that the guys are making, guys may get a big contract, play maybe 2 years of the contract, 2 or 3 years, let's say to get a 6-year deal, 3 years of the contract, and go, oh, Patrick Willis, I'm retiring. Because they made so much money in a short window and it was guaranteed. And then they start putting this in their contract because they're afraid a lot of guys are going to start retiring. Maybe he says, oh, I'm beat up, or, I have, concussion issues, or I'm just trying to preserve my body. I'm moving on. And maybe they put that in contracts now. Because that's kind of surprising that's in there, and that Irsay said that.
The quote from ESPN says, Luck, now 33, who retired in 2019 with 3 seasons remaining on his contract, technically remains the property of the Colts. The contract told after his departure, meaning that if he ever elects to return to the NFL, the Colts would own his rights. And I agree with you. Maybe the Colts just put something in there like, here's the deal. We're going to pay you some more money. We're not going to seek any of your.
They paid him his entire salary the next year, and it was a lot.
They thought he was coming back. He's going to go home for a year and read some books and come right on back. We'll be in such good standing with him. That dude, he looked like a completely different human being.
Yeah, he lost weight and everything. Yeah, he was different.
So his deal was up, and people are saying, remember Marshawn Lynch went through that when he came back. This is Carlos. When he came back to play with the Raiders, they had to get his rights from the Seahawks. Amar is saying this is similar to when Sean Payton retired with New Orleans. Denver had to negotiate to get his rights. I wonder if they were still in that specific window where they would have maybe Sean Payton.
All those examples weren't the same in my mind, and the reason why I say that is because that was the next year after they retired. It was only a 1-year window. It's been numerous years. And his contract would have expired if he still continued to play.
Yes.
So I think that's a little bit different. But maybe to their point, they may be saying this is in their people's contracts now. And maybe it is Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, like the next year you retire. Like some guys try to retire so they could go play for another team, get another signing bonus and move forward. So to protect teams, they may have put this in there now. Because maybe the Brett Favre issue, how he really wanted to go to the Vikings initially. And the Packers wouldn't let him because that was within the division. And so then he took a pit stop to the Jets, and then they just let him go to the Vikings.
Well, this was just really interesting to me, the way that, because I saw the report and I thought, dang, man, he'd been out of the league 4 years. This is 5 years this year.
Yeah, that's a little surprising because his contract was up. So maybe that's a new rule. I'd love to learn that. Maybe we can find out over the break, or maybe we could text Joe Corey, or someone's in the industry that knows how these contracts are maybe changed over time. That regardless of how long you've been out, you're still part of the organization that you finished at. It's funny, in the NFL, regardless of where I spent my entire career mostly, and then 1 year in Philly, I still get, it's where you retire last or last place you played, that you get all the emails from that organization for everything alumni, everything regarding your retirement, anything.
Wow.
Comes from the Eagles. So I get invited to their reunions. I get invited to everything. And they do a slew of stuff. I mean, I feel like I get something every month. I mean, really. Seriously. So you're connected regardless if I played 9 years with the Titans and 1 year with the Eagles. I get all my email because you retired. That's when you retired. So everything's allocated through them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You need to tell them, hey, I was thinking about coming back. Do I need to let you guys know, or do my contract toll?
Oh. I don't know, man. The Philly fans, boy, if they announce my name, they'll boo me out the stadium. Who is that? No, just kidding. But yeah. So that's interesting. Hey, man, that's yeah. And Irsay, if I'm an owner, I would want to get some compensation for it. Yeah, no question. That's true.
They could be in real trouble again. I mean, it's the command skins. I mean, they're getting. But this could just be another thing that happened under Dan Snyder, and it just got mentioned in an article by ESPN. Like, yeah, they were so desperate last year, they even contacted Andrew Luck, and everybody's like, wait a second, what? And Irsay was like, wait a second, what? We kept paying this dude, and somebody called. Oh, boy. Ooh. We're going to get the command skins in some trouble here.
Yeah, we're going to get, that's another part of the fines they're going to throw under the rug.
This league, though, man, like nothing surprises me when it involves money and billionaires, because you always say, look, the billionaires win. That's how they stay billionaires. Yeah, but even for Andrew Luck to be out of the league 4 years, now he's never, I would be, I don't know if I would say hot chip challenge after seeing the look on Buck's face, but I'd be willing to bet pretty much anything you'll never see Andrew Luck again, take the field for an NFL team. I'd feel pretty safe in betting that, especially reading this giant retirement article after a reporter finally got to talk to him late last season. And that dude just sounds like somebody who could not ultimately, had to make decisions to get away from football for a lot of personal reasons. But just the fact that you could be out 3 years and somebody calls you after your contract and they could still get in trouble for that.
That's pretty.
This was year 4, 3
we'll
years.
See if they get in trouble.
Yep.
I'm interested. I want to see if they get. I don't think they will.
Crazy thing is that dude is only 33 years old now, Andrew Luck. Only 33. He was 29 when he retired.
That's when I retired. 33.
That dude, 29.
He made a boatload of money, though. He was first pick of the draft. So, yeah, he took a beating, though, man. He was a tough son of a gun. Even from the Titans. I remember that one time he had a messed up ankle. His ankle was, he had a splint on it or something. That thing was huge, and he was out there dropping dimes on the Titans. I could not believe it. I was like, this is incredible.
In his retirement article, because I went back and read some of that this morning, Arakpo was one of the guys that kind of started him on his downhill run.
Oh, his hit?
Yep.
What did he hurt?
Shoulder, I think, at that time. And he said it got to the point where, do you remember they were supposed to play a preseason game and got canceled because the field conditions were so bad? He said his shoulder hurt so bad he was glad the game got canceled because he didn't have to warm up.
Was the throwing arm or the other arm?
It's throwing arm. He had to move to the Netherlands and train with this guy and never threw a football. And it's fascinating what he went through.
Yeah, people have no idea. Oh, did you just see what the Chiefs running back, what he played with during the Super Bowl?
Yep.
Yeah, torn labrum and a broken hand.
Yeah.
A normal, average, tough human being be like, do what? Yeah, that's all day, every day in the National Football League. And he was a rookie. Yeah, torn labrum and a broken hand.
torn labrum.
You're running back, they hitting your shoulders
Every
man.
time. That's how you get to where you're going. Is somebody hits your shoulder, so you hit them back.
Man, oh man, that should be illegal.
But you know what that dude knows? Somebody get my job if I don't play. If they play well, that's the end of me.
Well, that was the biggest, spectacle in sports is the Super Bowl. So I'm sure he was going to do everything he could to try to play.
Tape it up.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable though. That's impressive.
Um,
He's doing a lot of rehab this summer, so he won't get to do his normal conditioning and everything else and build up strength. He rehabbing. See, that's the part that people don't understand. That whole 6 month, if you have an injury that's of extensive nature, like 6 month of rehab, that halts and slows down all the other things you're trying to work on to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to find more time, and you can, but it takes a lot to rehab if you want to get it right. To then take a break and then go out here and do your regular training and try to improve as a player individually. So this takes a lot. Trust me. I did 3 years of reconstructive shoulder surgery in the off season. It took a lot.
Mm-hmm. It takes a lot to be a first-round draft pick, and the Titans took a guy in the first round, and his position coach from college, Kurt Anderson, offensive line coach at Northwestern, is going to join us next. Get some inside scoop on Peter Skoronski. That's coming up next on Blaine and Mickey.
Gronk.
Blaney Mickey 104.5 The Zone, Monday. Kurt Anderson set to join us. Lucas has an APB out for him.
Oh, that's the old line coach of Mr. Skoronski.
Yeah.
Bad man. I'm excited for him because guess what? I don't know where he's going to play. But guess what? I do feel real comfortable wherever it's at. He's going to be solid. And when I say solid, I think he's going to do a really good job. And it almost like he's been in the league before. I believe that. I'm just interested. That's why my whole point is I want the best 5. Sometimes that means sacrificing you playing a different position for 1 year than you getting to play your actual position. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see where the Titans O-line and Vrabel decide to implement them in the end. I know they're going to move them around. They're going to try to have different guys because they want their best 5 too, I'm sure. But what will that 5 end up looking like? Because I think now they have a decent enough talent where the offensive line, the starting 5 unit, and maybe even one coming off the bench who can play multiple, whether it's left tackle and right tackle or maybe even sub at guard. I think they're in a good spot. So now it's about development and see what's the best nucleus to work together.
I wonder what's fair to even imagine Radin's coming off of his ACL to even be part of the equation as a backup.
Radin's not part of this discussion.
Yep.
No. He got hurt when, Mickey? December? Yeah, he's not part of this discussion.
It was December 18th in LA.
So that he is not.
Oh, his surgery probably wasn't even until January.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's not even part of this discussion. He's on the team because he was injured, and whenever we get him back, whatever, but he's not part of the equation.
He'll be on the PUP list even to start the season.
Maybe. Just depends. We don't know. Everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
That'll be 6 months when training camp starts, end of July, so let's say 7 months. But his body could respond great, or his body may not take it too well. So if it was me and I'm the Titans based off what his performance was before, I thought he was better than they gave him credit for, but I'm easing him into lineup. You know why? There's no need to rush because now I got some other pieces to the puzzle. It's always about a puzzle, and that's why they rush you or don't. You're not helping our puzzle. At worst, best case scenario, you're a backup. So we're going to rush the backup back? Nah. Ratings is not part of it. That's like saying, I wonder where Caleb Farley's going to be a part of this equation. See, well, you could have used him. He had surgery before him. We weren't talking about offensive line. We weren't talking about defensive backs. But, you say, well, we'll see when we see. That's it. And if he does great, man, we'll implement him. If he doesn't, then we won't. You can't depend on, guys getting surgery regardless of where they was taken or not. No way, no how.
Where do you think Skoronski lines up day one?
Well, see, my tact is totally different. So that's when I'm always speaking. I'm speaking from my perspective, and I'm not watching them in detail. But I want the best 5. Some coaches don't think that way. Mm-hmm. They want to put out there, especially being a first-round pick, his best position. Mm-hmm. So they may have him at tackle and may put Dillard at guard because Dillard showed at the Eagles that he got more snaps at guard because of their really good offensive line. And when he got injured, that then opened the window, at offensive tackle for other guys to play. And then so he ended up coming back when someone got hurt. They put in their best 5 and they implemented him. Now, granted, he was a first-round pick. And he may not have sat there and said, I don't want to play guard, but he's not going to say that.
Right.
They put him where they needed him. So it's interesting. They keep saying he's an old lineman. They don't keep saying he's a tackle or a guard.
Yep.
So where do I think he'll end up? This is a tough one. From today, without ever seeing him on the field, guard. But I don't think he's ever played guard. Like, he never played guard in college. I don't know what he did in high school. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he could play every position in high school, being as good as he was his initial year in the Big Ten. But who's to say he won't beat out Dillard or things work out where injuries or somebody, can't play for a week or so, and then they put him out there and then go, nope, he's staying there. Mm-hmm. And especially being 11th pick. And I don't know Dillard's contract. Do we know? I know he's got a 3-year deal, but can they get out of it after 1 year? And the reason why that's part of the equation and not part of just who wins it out is because they're going to make it try to work at tackle. So, I don't know. You never know. Petit Ferrer may be moved to guard and Skoronski starting on the, front side tackle. Wherever it's at, Skoronski's starting somewhere. 11th pick, he's starting.
It looks like you could move on after year one from Dillard if you wanted to without much of a penalty.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound weird to people, and this goes on all the time in the NFL. Now, I'm not going to underrate Skoronski. I think he is a really good athlete for an offensive lineman. But when you watch Dillard, he is the better athlete. Doesn't mean he will be the better offensive tackle. Because Skoronski is so technically sound, he's probably underrated on how athletic he is. Because, there's never an issue with them versus anybody except, when he went maybe like against Hutchinson or something. They got pressure, but I didn't see any of them get sacks. Guess those guys did really well in the NFL. So, obviously, they're pretty good players. So, everybody talks about the length of the arms. That's one of my questions to ask this coach here, Kurt Anderson, is, how do you respond to all the NFL scouts talking about his length of arms? Because ultimately, a coach isn't going to go to his production. He's going to go, you watch him versus these NFL players that eventually played in the NFL, and they're doing really well. Defensive pass rushers. So I don't see anything changing there. And the Titans may think the same way. So then where do they put Dillard? Yeah, so that would be interesting. When you go to 11th pick, I think there's some obligation to you to make sure he's at the best position that can help your team, whether that's at guard or tackle.
Well, the guy who coached him at Northwestern is on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline with us right now. Kurt Anderson joins us. He is at O-Line Pride on Twitter, Northwestern offensive line coach. Coach, how in the world are you doing? Thanks for the time today.
Oh, I'm great, man. I'm just in the middle of that recruiting season trying to find the next Peter Skoronski.
There you go.
Hey, I just wanted to start with
you
this.
Sound like you were just chopping some wood, man. You kind of scared me there, but you were chopping wood.
So did you ever look at Pete during his time there, and you guys have been together for a few years now, and think, boy, if his arms were just longer, I could make a player out of him?
No, it's funny, but last time I checked, they didn't put points on the board or take points off the board based on measurements. So they measure by what you do when you step between the white lines, and every opportunity that he gets to step in between the white lines, he doesn't disappoint. He graded out over 90% in every game that he played at Northwestern, which that's 3 straight years. Never missed a practice. He pushes through things. He's an old school type of player. That game 2 years ago against Michigan, against Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojigbo, he had a 102 temperature, and we didn't know what the heck was going on with him, and wasn't sure. We found out 10 minutes before we were supposed to load the buses to go to the airport that he was going to be able to go, because it wasn't a myriad of different things that they tested for. It was kind of his Jordan flu game, because he's sitting on there with a mask on and looks like he's 3 seconds from death, and next thing you know, he goes out there and he just shuts down Hutchinson, shuts down Ojigbo, and kind of gets after him a little bit. And but that's just the type of dude he is. He's gonna, any opportunity he has a chance to compete, he's gonna compete.
With Kurt Anderson, Northwestern offensive line coach, the position coach for new Titan Peter Skoronski.
Man, that sounds like a variable guy, man. He sounds like he's tough as nails, man. If you had to just describe Peter Skoronski, coach, as a football player and as a person, kind of take us through that maturation process once he got to Northwestern.
Yeah, he is just a an unbelievable human being. You're talking about a guy that put some of the best high school tape out there that I've ever seen.
Wow.
Had a couple opportunities to see him live because he was local, and Coach Fitz and I went. We had he was playing a local game against an Iowa commit, and we went out there, and we were playing Iowa the next day, so it was a Friday night, and we were standing next to one of the Iowa coaches who was obviously there to watch his guy, and we proceeded to watch Peter just absolutely just take him up and down the field, and it was one of the best high school performances from an offensive line coach, and he just wanted to prove a point. And then when you talk to the guy, he's the nicest human being in the world. Here's a guy that turned down an opportunity to graduate early, like most kids are doing nowadays, because he had an opportunity to be the valedictorian at his high school. COVID hit, so they gave it to the top 5 kids. So he was kind of pissed because he would have left early if they knew that was going to happen. But so doesn't have an early spring ball, comes in, starts as a true freshman, and never turned back. But he's got a photographic memory, so you can sit there and you can teach him stuff. As you guys know, that have played the game, 85% of the game is the what if scenarios. It doesn't go as cookie cutter as it's supposed to be taught on paper or philosophically, but it's what happens and what can you do when you put yourself or are in a bad body position, or a defender goes and does something different. You can teach some of those what if scenarios, but it's really hard to replicate in drills or in practice. And for most guys, it kind of takes them 2 or 3 times for that same scenario to happen to them, for them to be able to say, okay, I put it in my memory bank, I'm ready to roll. Next time that happens, I can execute it. Peter's one of those guys that you can talk about a scenario that might come up, once or twice in 1,000 plays in a season. But you can talk about it. There's no way to replicate it. But when that opportunity arises within, a snap of a blink of an eye, he's executing a technique that all you did was talk about it. He's got that type of recall. And so I think that makes him a special player. He works extremely hard. And I think the other part of it is that he's a visualizer. I catch him in the meetings all the time when I'm looking at him and I'm talking through things. And sometimes when you coach players, they're looking at you or they're looking at the screen. Peter sometimes will look off into the distance and you watch his face, and he's making faces as if he's straining to finish somebody on the football field. He's literally playing the scenario out in his head while I'm talking how it should play out. And so I think when he gets those opportunities on the field, he's already played the game 4 or 5 times in his mind, because he knows how to prepare like a pro. And you guys are going to love him off the field too. You're talking about a great human being. He's going to do so much for that community just because that's the type of person he is.
Man, that sounds like my kind of guy. Sounds like he's already prepared for the NFL. Now, Coach, we have to give you your props. You've got, you've groomed a whole bunch of, NFL players from college, coached in the NFL. So how did you get him to convince him to come to Northwestern? Like, do you had him? I mean, what was your competition like? Kind of take us through, what that was like, man, because he seems like he was almost there and then you just kind of finished the product. Coach Anderson. He had to go.
Kurt Anderson. The light's still on, but nobody's home. He's out recruiting. He said, who knows where he could be? Iowa.
Right. Is Lucas even paying attention? I know he's on the phone.
He's got him back on the phone. We're trying to. He's calling him again.
Man, he made me love him. I feel like he's going to be an offensive tackle. It's a no-brainer.
I just like that he wanted to be the valedictorian so bad he stuck around school. Then he got mad when they were like, we'll just give it to 5 people.
Yeah, you know what that tells me? Competitive at everything you do, and that is an NFL. It doesn't matter. It could be a card game. You want to win, and you believe you will win. And you're already playing out in your mind the plays that's going to be played in that card game. So this guy's already mentally as well as physically and technically, it seems like he's already there. So, wow, I can't wait to watch him. My expectations are skyrocketed. We have him back yet. We have Kurt Anderson. By the way, if you look up Kurt Anderson, man, he's produced numerous pro players from college as well as he's coached. I know he coached at Buffalo.
Yeah.
So this guy's got a laundry list of history of successful offensive linemen. That's why I wanted to ask him more so, like, did you know he was going to go to Northwestern because you were there? Because Northwestern really would, they're running the football, smash mouth, trying to slow the game down. So, you got to have that kind of mentality, which is exactly what the Titans are in the NFL form.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems like a match made in heaven for Titans fan as well as Vrabel.
Hey, Lucas, since this segment is almost over, why don't we take our break while you try to get him back? Then we'll have a lot more time to talk to him on the other side of the break.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do that. Try to get some more time with Kurt Anderson, O-line coach for Northwestern, Peter Skoronski's position coach. We'll be right back. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone right here. Blaine and Mickey hanging out with Kurt Anderson. Had a little phone trouble, but he's back with us. The O-line coach for Northwestern, position coach for one Peter Skoronski, the Titans' first-round draft pick. Hey, I think we lost you, Kurt, while my partner here, Blaine, was asking you a question, man. Good to get you back.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
interview
sorry about
is
that,
so
Coach.
riveting.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we got you, Kurt. All righty.
The interview is so riveting that we could only give it to the people in segments. If we went full segment, they would have their heads would have exploded like the movie Scanners.
Oh, man.
There's a reference.
Yeah, definitely with all your expertise with the successful offensive linemen, not only in the league, but also in developing in college football. Coach, I guess, I kind of forget where we left off, but I'm going to ask you this. If you were giving advice to parents that are sitting at home, as well as the kids who are offensive linemen, getting ready and moving forward, wanting to be an offensive lineman in college, kind of take us through some of the things that they need to work on that kind of gets missed, because most of the time it's just because they're really good athletes, big guys, and aggressive. But what would you recommend that they need to work on, not even meeting them, that little things that get missed that you wish, they got coached immediately in high school, and just little small things?
Yeah, I think the first thing is body language. It's hard for big kids, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, growing up in Pee Wee football, Pop Warner, leading up to high school, even high school. They, a lot of times they don't get the attention because there's not a lot of guys out there that are good coaches in terms of high school offensive line coaches. You get guys out there, they're coaching the quarterbacks, they're throwing, they're doing 7-on-7. And a lot of times, there's just a lot of standing around. And so, I think just when I turn on the tape of a high school kid, I want to see somebody that's excited, that you could tell that they play with a passion, that they love the game. And some of that's just breaking the huddle and going to the line, like body language, like go to the line with a purpose. Like you cannot wait to go, snatch the soul from the man across from you. And I think playing with your whole foot in the ground, always working on flexibility, violent hips, using your hands through contact. And then, be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that I care about is really about who they are off the field. I want men of character. I want to work with people that have a passion and a thirst to become the best version of themselves, to master the craft, to put in that work. And so a lot of times I'll go into a high school and I'll find the meekest kid that's walking around the hallways and just mention that player's name to that kid just to see their response. Do they respond like, oh, that guy's awesome, he takes care of me, he sticks up for me? Or do they kind of shudder like, oh my God, this guy's a tyrant? Like, because I don't want those people. A lot of times up in the offensive line, camaraderie supersedes talent. Now, when you get guys that are good people and great communicators, and you have a great room, and they have talent, that's when you can do something special as a unit. But I'd say that those are some of the things, guys that finish on tape and are good people.
Yeah, one more question in that regard. To kind of take us through, Skoronski's recruiting, when you knew that you had him, he was going to go to Northwestern.
Yeah, he was recruited by everybody in the country. So
right.
He was a different type of kid in terms of what you see today. With as soon as somebody offers somebody, then that kid is putting on the Twitterverse of feeling blessed that I got offered by whoever, and it's a lot of it's for clout and all that stuff. It really wasn't reported how many offers Peter had, because Peter didn't tweet, right? And so he had everybody. It came down to us. It came down to Notre Dame. It came down to Stanford. And really he wanted the academic piece of it. But he had the Alabamas, he had the Ohio States, the Michigans, he had all that type of stuff. But really it was about building the relationships. And I knew once I talked to him a few times and talked to the family, I knew that okay, just continuing to build this relationship, this is somebody that is going to be the right fit. And a lot of times when you're recruiting guys, you just kind of know that this is going to work out. It's kind of like dating, and when you start talking to someone, you're like, you know what, we're vibing, and this is going to work out. And so, I just knew at one point that, not early on, because there was they had a lot of questions, and they kept coming up and kept visiting. But at one point, at some point before the official visit, I knew that, all right, this is our type of guy. When he canceled his official visit to Notre Dame, I think that's probably when I knew, okay, this is going to happen, and he's going to be making that call pretty soon to say that he's coming to Northwestern.
Kurt Anderson, our guest O-line coach for Northwestern football. So we opened the interview, the first half of the interview, and I made the kind of the crack about his arm length, because that's been spoken about so much, that he has atypically short arm length for somebody at his position. So let me ask you this, as a coach, as somebody who's trying to make him his best player, if somebody is lacking in a specific measurable arm length or height or weight or whatever it might be, 3-cone quickness, how do you then take that person and say, we'll make you so much better at everything else that doesn't matter?
Yeah. A lot of it's about self-awareness, knowing your abilities, knowing what you can and can't do. There's certain techniques that I teach certain guys that I don't teach other guys, because he might not have the change of direction or the hip mobility. There might be guys that I force them to jump set every single time, just because that'll play to their strengths and keep them from exposing their weaknesses. And so the thing about Peter is that he has unbelievable technique. Hand placement overrides arm length. Body positioning supersedes all that stuff. He's got power. He's got anchored power. He knows angles. And so if the plan is to play him at left tackle, he is going to be an all-pro. If the plan is to move him inside, he will be an all-pro. That's just how he's wired. And he can do any of those things that you're looking from a standpoint of technique. Technique and eyes, footwork, angles, that supersedes talent. He has talent, but he can do all those other things to the highest degree. And so you can show me a guy who's 330 pounds and athletic as a D tackle or a defensive end that's 280 and long and all that stuff, and he's athletic. He better have mastered his craft and be at the top level of technique. Otherwise, Peter's going to shut you down, just because his technique is going to supersede that guy's talent.
Kurt Anderson, great stuff, man. I would recommend that people do this, but just make sure it's around mealtime. Follow you at O-Line Pride on Twitter. There are more steak pictures on this man's Twitter. I got so hungry looking at your Twitter earlier, just trying to research, man. You are the king of the smoker. I can tell that.
Hey, listen, I got my wife and I have 5 kids, so I gotta keep them. I gotta keep their bellies full, and it really kind of started during COVID when we were kind of all stuck in the house. Not that I didn't cook before, but like I really found a passion for it, and just trying to do different things to see if they like it. And so I've hit a few that have become staples. If anyone out there has never tried tri-tip, that cut of beef, go make yourself a tri-tip roast, and you will be very happy that you did.
Last question. Number one steak spot in Chi-Town.
Wow.
Besides your back porch.
We already know. We already know that.
Yeah.
But you going out?
Asa Anderson. No, you know what? There's a bunch of
I know.
great
There's a
steak
ton.
places.
Mhm.
But I'll give you kind of a hidden gem here. There's a place called Sophia's Steakhouse, which is in the Wilmette area. It's kind of a smaller place, family owned type of place.
Uh-huh.
We'll take our recruits and their families there on on their official visits. If you're ever in the northern burbs of Chicago and you want a good place to get some good steaks, go to Sophia's. You won't be disappointed.
Good stuff, Eric.
Ready to head there right now. Coach, hey, thank you. Thanks for the time. We know
Thanks
you're
for your
busy.
time,
Good
brother.
luck back out on the recruiting trail.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot,
for having
Coach.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Kurt Anderson at O-Line Pride on Twitter. Some seriously amazing grill pictures that you can see there from him. When we come back, a couple of interesting questions and observations from the Zone TV chat about the Titans' first-round pick, Peter Skoronski. Corey with a question, Jonah with an observation. We'll get to those. You want to sound off on any of this? Tackle, guard? What do you think about the pick? 615-737-1045.
It is 2 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. That's right. 3 days until we receive dates for the Titans 2023 slate, including a trip to London in the upcoming season. Today, Nashville SC star Hani Mukhtar named to MLS Team of the Match Day after his 3-goal performance, a hat trick against Chicago Fire Saturday in a 3-0 win, 1 day after being named the Tennessee Pro Athlete of the Year by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Nashville will host FC Dallas this Wednesday at Geodis Park in U.S. Open Cup play. Coming up tonight, the NBA playoffs. Knicks and Heat play Game 4 at 6:30. The Heat lead it 2-1. And in the West semifinals, the Lakers and Warriors tip off in L.A. at 9 p.m. Lakers lead it 2-1. One NHL matchup tonight. It is Game 3, the Western Conference second round. Edmonton Oilers and Vegas Golden Knights series tied up at 1 game apiece. Puck drop at 7:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Four or five, The Zone. Hour 2 on Monday. Happy Monday to everybody. Hopefully you survived Taylor Swift and weather and being downtown. Blaine's just like, you know what? I don't care. Went downtown on Friday night. I don't care.
I did.
Taylor Swift, Aladdin at the Teapot. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm going downtown.
They can't stop me, man. I'm going. The little rain ain't going to stop me.
Is it a mess?
It was fun. I did all kind of things, this weekend. So, yeah, it was cool. Wasn't bad at all, actually. It was a little lighter than I expected anyway. Mm-hmm.
I actually got around much easier than I thought. I was ready for like a doomsday scenario, but turns out the people that plan out which roads to close off might know what they're doing.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Everybody had a good time this weekend.
Yeah.
Also,
I got to meet a judge, too.
Oh.
Yeah, Judge Bell. Yeah, I did some community service work there at the restoration clinic there for, jobs and resources.
Mm-hmm.
Fair is for people who have been convicted of crimes and they try to get their records sponged and so they can get a job. Who's part of that process. Yeah, so it was pretty cool just to see how that dynamic works and how that all comes together there, man. You never think about that. Who's now on the right track and now trying to get back acclimated in the community and get a job. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. That was fascinating. Saw Howard Gentry as well as Judge Bell is the one I met, and through the NFL alumni program headed by the president, Al Smith there. And Big Albert was there, Albert Hainsworth. So naturally I said, you need to talk about how you stepped on somebody's head. And nah, just kidding. I said, you need to embrace that because that's something that's very memorable, whether good or bad. And, I was really joking, but I was talking about him. He was on Defensive Player of the Year in some programs, but naturally some of the national things he did not make. So that's pretty fascinating. You could say you were the best in the league at something, an entire NFL on defense or offense is pretty unique. And he was doing great in health too, by the way. Anybody
That's awesome.
Know about him? So he looked really good and he was doing great. He had one of his younger sons there with him as well.
Well, I know people might have been wondering about that because it seemed like things got kind of scary for him for a minute.
It did.
So.
It really did.
Okay.
It really did. Yeah. It really did. So I'm excited that he's doing really well. So, yeah, it was a great weekend, man, of a lot of different things. Got to see Air. Saw Air, great programming. I think you've already seen that, right?
No, I was going to ask you about it because I saw you posted about it.
It was great. It was great. It was awesome. I think everybody should go. Naturally, Michael Jordan is not in it.
Right.
But all the pieces around it and all the actors did a fabulous job of how it became, Air Jordan. And how the shoe was developed and everything. It kind of reminded me a little bit, you guys are going to laugh. I know you guys aren't listening, Lucas, but it reminded me a little bit of Lamar Jackson. And the reason why I say that, not him per se, but his mother negotiating his contract. And you'll see in this movie that the mother was the one who was facilitating. Michael Jordan did not want to go to Nike.
Right.
He was already going to go to Adidas.
Right.
Adidas was the big thing back then.
Which is hard for people to understand.
Yeah. And so one of the actors went out of his way, which you're not supposed to do, and go around his agent and met her at the front door and then had a conversation with him and told him everything that all the different shoe companies were going to say to her. And he hit it to a T. And so she eventually visited. MJ came, despite him not wanting to go. And they offered him a deal the same as, all the other high-priced, especially Adidas was number one. And then she told him, that he wanted to be with Nike, but only that he had his own brand. Bang.
Wow.
And he gets a percentage of gross sales.
Mama Bear.
And that dude straight dropped the phone and said, we can't do that. And I'll let you find out the rest. But it was really unique, man, how that all transpired, because that guy about pooped in his pants when she said that, because he had gotten that far from not having no shot to the owner of Nike telling him, what the heck are you doing? You're going to get fired. And, I mean, everything else. I run this thing, you know, and it was great. The actors were phenomenal. It was really, really cool just to see how that all transpired, looking back on it. So,
All right, I have to go see it. I
Gotta go see
so want to go see that because you and I are old enough to remember when that happened in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know any of the details
Yep.
of anything about him and his Air Jordan brand and how they designed and developed the shoe and all that. None of that. That's all in there.
Is Lamar's mom still involved with his processes? I remember
I just saw it on Twitter that his mom would have gotten $7.8 million, which is 3% of what he would have paid an agent to negotiate that contract. And I saw it numerous places. So I don't know if that was part of it. They had some lawyer friend of theirs also be part of the process, reading through the contracts, but going through the PA to making sure that the numbers were what they were and they were understanding everything. So I think she was, but how, to what extent, I have no idea.
I remember in the draft process, she basically was his agent. Like, that's what they were calling her.
Right. Well, because it's a little different now. Your numbers are set when you come out of college. So a lot of guys are doing that now. But to do the second contract and, yours truly even saying, man, maybe you should have reconsidered maybe having an agent. And it worked out. Right now, he's the highest paid per year, in the NFL and NFL history. So I'm sure that'll be taken down by Burrow and Herbert. But he's at $52 million per. So, yeah. He eventually won.
And to tie it back around, we'll probably wear Air Jordans at some point because just about everybody does. Because they're even football cleats now, which is absolutely astounding. We had the position coach on for Peter Skoronski, his coach from Northwestern. And if you missed that, it wound up being 2 different segments. But if you're just joining us for the second hour, go back and check out the podcast from today. That dude will have you ready to run through a wall talking about Skoronski and his work ethic and him wanting to be the valedictorian of his class and everything else. It was fantastic stuff. And a couple people weighed in on the Zone TV chat. Corey said, do you guys think that where he plays on the line, he put in quotes, is more set on how Dillard looks, or is it just based on them needing him more at guard?
That's a good one, man. Because to me, he should have precedent. But, theoretically, Dillard, I think, is making 7 or 9. So, he's somewhere around there. And they can get out of the contract in a year.
3 for 29 was the deal. So what's 9 and change?
Man. Me, and I know they don't think like I do, so I'd be a coach or GM, but I'd put my best 5 out there. That's it. Somebody's going to have to make a sacrifice. I don't know who will be. It could be Dillard at guard. If you go back and look at the history, he played guard a lot more than he played tackle because he got injured then at tackle and then never played. And then when he came back and got healthy, they had another injury to a guard, and he played guard.
Right.
So he's just as comfortable playing guard too. So maybe you let him battle it out, and that's what's the process that bothers me. Battle it out, and then all of a sudden then you move the other guy to guard, and he's now practicing there a week of time. So you got to mix and match him throughout this training camp, which then you're not going to come together probably till about week 4.
Okay.
In being where you need to be as a group, as a unit. Then I want that process done in preseason training camp, and it's over. And then when week 1, we're ready to rock and roll. So I don't know. Best 5 in the best positions they show best, to be honest. And I know that's not really giving you the answer, but that's what I think they're going to do.
Jonah adds this. Again, you can always talk to us in the Zone TV chat on Twitter at Blaine and Mickey. Heck, you can visit us on Instagram also at Blaine and Mickey. But this is what Jonah says. To me, tackle is more important than guard. So whoever plays best at tackle, and he put, I think Skoronski. He said, I think whoever plays best at tackle should be the tackle. Figure out the interior afterwards.
I like how they're thinking.
Okay.
I like how they're thinking. He's absolutely right. Absolutely. Tackle's always more important than guard. This is just a tougher position, especially with all the passing going on. Whether you're front side, blind side, it doesn't even matter. Yeah. Yep. That's probably what they'll do. Yeah.
Kay Oldham in the Zone TV chat, Blaine just says Skoronski should be the left tackle. just skip the middleman there, no questions. Just a
And
proclamation.
some people are going to think that way in the organization just because they took him at 11.
right?
Yep. It's got to be the tackle. You typically, you're not taking a guard at 11 just because of the value of that pick. Yeah. Unless you're, what's the guy that got drafted from Notre Dame to the Colts?
Nelson.
Yeah, unless you're Nelson. Other than that, it's hard. Yeah. So that could happen. And remember, he kind of stuttered. I'm going to take y'all back. I remember this. Remember when they asked Dillard about playing guard on his initial interview when he signed here? Yeah. He said, what did he say?
He's here to play tackle. He's here to be the starting left tackle of the Titans.
Yeah. It's kind of, he alluded to that. Like, guard?
Well, I think I've never really done that, but yeah.
But I'm like, that's not true. He played guard at Philly. He played guard. Yeah, he did.
Oh, I was talking about Skoronski said he'd never done it.
I'm talking about
no, Dillard, yeah.
Dillard was like, well, I'm here to play tackle, but if it works out that way, hey, I'm going to play where I'm playing. I mean,
It sure sounded like he signed here thinking, I'm the left tackle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of he was playing it. And that's how I would have played it, act puzzled. I think I'm going to be tackle, but hey, I'm going to do what's best for the team.
Right.
And then when I walked out, I'm saying I'm playing tackle right now.
I go back to my meeting room and go, did I miss something?
Yeah, Dave Ray will say, for $7 million, you'll play tackle or guard. Yeah.
All right, why don't we do this? We have it.
Whatever it is.
We'll play that when we come back. It's also time for Ding Dong of the Week. The baseball team I follow has done one of the dongest, one of the most ding-dongery of things ever. My St. Louis Cardinals are my Ding Dong of the Week, I'll tell you what. Oh, my gosh. They're screwing up everything. We'll also hear about the guard versus tackle for Dillard. We'll do it all next.
The ding dong screwing up everything.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Ding Dong of the Week. We do it every Monday. A lot of ding dong candidates. A lot of ding dongery out there in the sports world and the world to get to.
Oh, yeah, it was.
We like to say, don't be a ding dong, use Mark Spain. Some people say go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing. That's the real way to do it. We take calls on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. We will start with our friend Eric, who always
starts us off.
Always starts us off on the ding dong of the week.
Some
What's going on,
massive
Eric?
ding-dongs.
Hey, guys, I really hate to go to this one because I love the guy and I love what he's done for college football, but I've got to give a ding-dong to Deion Sanders, who after the draft last week said that he was ashamed of the NFL, the fact that they only drafted one player from a HBCU, and it was the last player picked, Mr. Irrelevant, in the 7th round. Here's 2 issues I have with that. Number one, first of all, coaches, owners, and GMs don't care where you come from, and they're traditionally going to mainly be drafted from the Power 5 conferences, but they want to win, so they don't care about that. But here's the other thing that Deion Sanders has forgotten. When he was drafted, and Blaine, I believe when you were drafted, I believe there were 12 rounds in the draft, and it's now shrunk to 7. So, guys, I'm telling you what, coaches like John Merritt, and when he was coaching, Eddie Robinson from Grambling and TSU, had a lot of those players drafted in the middle and late rounds, and some were signed as free agents. So I still think there's an opportunity for some to get signed as free agents. I just wish Deion hadn't went there. That's my ding-dong. Guys, y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
All right.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I was drafted when it went from 12 to 8. So it went to 8. I was 214. So I was not with the 12-rounder, but I definitely have watched those 12-rounders, and that was exhausting. Man, I said, man, maybe I have a shot. I think I was more shooting for the USFL, and then when that came, I said, man, I ain't got a shot. I wouldn't even think I had a shot in the NFL.
I remember when the draft was 17 rounds. Before
What?
it was 12, it was 17 rounds.
Lucas, is this true? It was 17 rounds.
That's before my time.
17 rounds before.
Oh.
I don't know why it went random. It was 17.
rounds.
Then it went to 12. And then it's
Yeah, I was
currently
the
down
first
to
year
its.
I
it
went
went to
first
8.
And then that next year it went to 7.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to just cut it all the way down to 7, I guess, that initial year.
But 17 rounds, it was basically like a meeting in a hotel ballroom, right?
That's when it was, yes. And like guys who get drafted who didn't know they were drafted and
Yeah, that was happening.
and things like that. It was just such a. And Coach Mack can tell you, he was coaching in the NFL during the USFL, I guess, when they were having wars for players. And you go back to the AFL and the NFL days of the 1960s where you would Lucas would try to draft Blaine Bishop, and I'd try to draft Blaine Bishop. So we'd try to get you to a hotel room. And like Bud Adams would give a player his wife's car. I think he gave Billy Cannon his wife's car at one time.
Yeah, I remember. I saw that story, yeah.
So he could keep him
crazy.
and he wouldn't go to the NFL. So, it was a much more inexact science in those days. This sounds crazy for me to say it, but I want to say when I was younger, the NBA draft was 12 rounds.
I have no idea.
Our crack research team can look that up, but
Yeah, our intern that we have.
yes,
That they promote.
I'm telling
all
you,
the time.
I think it was 12 rounds. And then I think it went to like 7, and then now it's a 2-round draft.
It is super hard to get drafted in the NBA.
Hey, man.
Ooh, 2 rounds? Oh, my God.
Look, it's hard to make everything.
Oh, my gosh.
But do you guys remember we were talking about the NBA one day, and we'll get to our ding-dongs, and you can share a ding-dong with us. We'll read the ones in the Zone TV chat, 615-737-1045. It's only like a couple of thousand people in the history of the world who have played in the NBA.
That's
It's like
insane.
2,000 people.
Was it 2,000? Or I thought it was almost 5.
Is
No,
it 5,000?
Something. Speaking of that, it was Kyrie Irving who's actually the one who said that. After he said the world was flat. No, just kidding. But, yeah. So, yeah. Speaking of that, that's my ding-dong. It's
Kyrie Irving?
It was Kyrie. No. It was the NBA.
By the way, the 1960 and 1968 NBA drafts went 21 rounds.
21, so more than 17. Damn it. So you were definitely in the ballpark.
Well, it dropped to 17 then.
Yeah. But, my NBA, my ding-dong, my buddy here, Michael Thomas, he sent me this early today, and I had wrote down the Joker. But the NBA, everyone flopping. The Suns owner, I don't want to mispronounce his name, Matt Isabia, flopped back into his court seat. He came out with a statement as well. Everybody was, they gave the Joker a technical foul, but he tried to get the ball back and went on the sidelines, and then he grabbed the ball. He wasn't aggressive in any manner besides trying to get the ball. And, he kind of put his arm out like around him. And then, the owner of the Suns, the new owner there, flopped back. And then he's put out a statement like no one should be suspended or anything, get fined for anything. So, just the owner flopping is led to the players flopping to now owners flopping. And congratulations to the Suns. They won. So it's 2-2. So, yeah, that was my ding-dong. The Joker, too. And by the way, you saw the Joker had 53 in the loss, right? I told you he's unstoppable. The man who can jump only 2 feet off the ground. Unstoppable. It's all about skill, guys.
He's got
he's got size, too. They couldn't stop him. And it still wasn't enough to get the win this time. So we shall see. It's going to be a heck of a term. And Booker is playing lights out. He's playing like he's an MVP type candidate.
I've told you this, and I know we've talked about him. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. I loved watching him in Kentucky. And for him,
me too.
And if you'd said, like, oh, no, he's going to be, like, among the best of those guys, it's when he gets to the NBA, he's been so much fun to watch in the NBA.
His jump shot is pure beauty.
How tall is he?
Probably like 6'4", 6'5" guy.
Man.
He could play point, shooting. He's a very versatile, great ball handling. Wow, I love watching him too. I wish I could shoot like that. I mean, like his form. I'm talking about his form, not his actual going in the bucket. But his form is so perfect. If you're teaching someone how to shoot, he is it. Even Durant, kind of brings his elbow in and kind of goes back out. It's not the perfect form, and Durant's a unicorn and with those long 7'5" arm wingspan type dude. Booker, man. Whew. Wow. Great.
Yeah, he's got the requisite skills. Tyler says he's giving a ding-dong to, in quote, Titans fan. This is on his own TV chat, to, in quotes, Titans fan Morgan Wallen. He said, who I'm guessing was performing in Jacksonville, but said during the concert, the Titans are whizzing me off, so I might just become a Jaguars fan.
What?
He's mad at Morgan Wallen because he said he might start rooting for the Jags because he's mad at the Titans.
Was that a PR move?
Yeah, I mean, you're shilling for the Jacksonville crowd there.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, I've been an artist, but, you can't lose your moral compass for your team while you're in another town. I mean, if you're Morgan Wallen, they already like you. You don't have to sell out your team.
Kenny Chesney, notorious for that.
Yeah, you should have said who that.
Boats.
No, Duval. That's their thing.
That you just say Duval. That's all you got to do. It's Duval. Then you're set.
Who that is the Bengals.
Yeah.
And the Saints.
And the Saints.
Yeah, Saints. They say
Boats.
it's a little bit different, but it's
Boats Russ in the Zone TV chat adds, my ding dong this week goes to WKRN for breaking into the Miami Grand Prix's last lap to give a non-tornado on the ground weather alert. I don't know, man. That's a tough call when it's weather.
I was watching when that happened.
So how did you feel? Be honest.
It's at first your instant reaction is, oh, come on. Like, it's the last lap of the race. Right. But, like, you get it. It's weather. Weather alert. They have a system for that. It's going to happen. They had
to go, right? It's go time.
Yeah.
Did they go back and replay the last lap or anything, or you just missed it?
No, I think they just rejoined it.
I'm a ding-dong, but can they do it by, when they're interrupting the program, make sure it only hits the markets that is actually affecting and not the other markets that it is not?
Oh, yeah. It's only your local station sticks it up there. So if you were watching it somewhere else, you'd be set as long as there was no bad weather.
Yeah, but it could be affecting.
That's happened to me before. I'm like, this has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, it could just be like, this is happening in Humphreys County.
Yeah.
But, Channel 2, Middle Tennessee TV stations cover a lot of ground.
Yeah. It could be in South Central Kentucky, and you still get it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
that right there.
no,
See,
that's what you get.
About.
No, you get it.
They did go window in window.
They did?
Yes. Like that first, it was all.
Thank you. That's all
they
I'm
broke
asking.
into the weather alert, and then the race came up in the bottom corner.
Window and window is fine. You can still see it. Your TVs are big now.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's several. Tyler says, my other ding-dong comes from the Nashville SC game. After the first goal from Hani, so Lucas would have seen this. He was doing the game. You could have heard Lucas on the call. A kid no older than 13 or 14 decided to run onto the field.
This happened?
But my ding-dong is his dad for allowing it, he said.
Yeah, the first pitch invader in Geodis Park history. I didn't even see him run on.
Pitch invader.
Yeah.
They have their own name.
I didn't see him run on. Like it was right after a goal. I think it was either after Hani's first or second. I think after maybe his first goal of his hat trick. And I was saying something, and then I was looking at my chart while my analyst Jaleel was talking, and then Jaleel stopped talking to say, "Oh, we've got an invader," and we looked down, and I just looked down in time to see the kid getting like escorted off by security. Didn't exactly get tackled or anything.
Okay.
He just got.
How would you have felt if they would have tackled him?
That's tough. He didn't really provide much of a threat. Kid just kind of ran onto the center circle and then just kind of stood there for a second. Then a security guard walked up to him and said, "Okay,
did the guy
come on."
Who was giving the ring to his wife actually offer a threat?
No, he didn't. That's true. But he was a grown man. Everybody wants to see the grown man get tackled. Nobody wants to see
I didn't
that.
want to see that guy get tackled. Just escort him off.
Yeah,
you didn't have to hurt
They
the
didn't
guy.
have to try to hurt the dude, man. They tried to. I mean, then
They
he stopped and he
crushed
was
that guy.
he was on the knee.
Yes.
Come on,
He'd
man.
given himself up.
That's true. It would be a penalty in the NFL.
Lucas just wanted to see somebody get crunched because he loved that.
Oh.
He said that was great material for him to talk about.
It was. Amar in the Zone TV chat says, this is tough, man. For those of us who've kind of grown up following the NFL for decades, he said, my ding-dong is for Taylor, talking about Lawan, for letting an 80-year-old guy do his first ACL repair. You should have definitely went to a younger surgeon. Letting an 80-year-old guy do your surgery is, oh, no, then he makes a political thing, but I'll leave the rest of it there in regards to the age of our current president. Basically like saying,
Stop that.
Okay, it got political. I stopped there.
Oh, man.
80-year-old guy doing the surgery. If I'm not mistaken,
Dr. Andrews.
Dr. Andrews did the knee surgeries because he had two, or at least one, I think, for Gale Sayers.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. He's a prominent and actually, if not the best, one of the best. He actually did my shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
And he definitely wasn't 80 years old. Not to say that he can't perform really good surgery. So I'm sure he's the best in the business. At least he was when I was playing. So not sure where he's at today, but I'm sure he's really revered as one of the best. So we'll see how this all plays out. If it was me, I would be looking to settle real quick if I was Dr. Andrews.
I would too.
Yeah.
Lucas Panzica, your ding dong. I know we have Buffalo on the line, but what is your ding dong of the week?
Well, I'm glad the Miami Grand Prix got brought up. Who was that someone in the YouTube chat? Because mine is Grand Prix related, and I had my ding dong of the week almost exactly a year ago from the Miami Grand Prix. I don't know if you guys remember Martin Brundle. He's the Sky Sports reporter for Formula One, and before the race on the track, there's celebrities everywhere, right? Walking around, mingling with the drivers. There's team owners and actors and professional athletes, and Martin Brundle's the guy with the microphone scurrying around, interviewing whoever he can get his hands on. And a year ago, he ran into Paolo Banchero, and he thought he was Pat Mahomes. Do you guys remember that? He interviewed Paolo Banchero as though he was Pat Mahomes. And I have the audio split. It's about 1 minute. The first half is from when he was interviewing Paolo thinking he was Pat Mahomes, and then he ran into him again yesterday in Miami. But this is from 2022.
Patrick, how are you? Good to see you on the grid here. What do you think of this atmosphere?
This is crazy. I've never been to an F1 race. This is spectacular.
It's amazing to be allowed right in the middle of the competitors just before the race starts.
Yeah, now you can see they locked in. It reminds me of myself. But the real focus.
Okay, it's not Patrick. That's why he ignored me in the beginning.
Someone's in his ear saying, that is not Patrick Mahomes. Stop calling him Patrick. Then he ran into Paolo again yesterday.
But I found Paolo Banchero, who I found him last year. I just didn't get the name right in the beginning. But what a year you've had since you made me infamous.
It's been a hell of a year, and I'm honored that you know my name now, man. It's been a hell of a year, and you're great at what you do.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. So explain the feeling down here compared to what you do.
And then they go on to talk about everything going on in the track. But my reverse ding-dong, Robert coined it Gnad, that is ding-dong spelled backwards, goes to Martin Brundle for correcting his mistake a year ago for mistaking Paolo for Pat.
Man, there have been a couple of times where, like, in Titans training camp, and there's a bunch of new people, and maybe you haven't necessarily seen a guy with his helmet off, like really seen him with his helmet off, or like a guy who'll have a whole new hairdo, like maybe his hair's gotten longer, or it's gotten shorter, or he's really cut all of his hair, shaved his head, or whatever. Man, there have been a couple of times where guys come off the field, and I have, like, really struggled to, like, okay, now who is this again? Who is this? Who is this? So I will just tell you, I'm not making an excuse for your guy Grundle for messing that up. but it is easy sometimes.
Oh, it's a tough
when
job.
You really think somebody is somebody, and they're not that somebody.
A lot of times it's more entertaining than the race itself, is watching Martin Brundle run around. And he's so short that most of the professional athletes he interviews are like Paolo, are like 5 feet taller than him. So he's holding the mic straight up. It's fantastic stuff.
NASCAR does that with Michael Waltrip, who was a longtime driver. They have him go do it. So, they have most of the stars cleared out then, so he's usually just talking to drivers. I'm giving one to my St. Louis Cardinals. So they signed a catcher from their rival, Contreras. They signed him from the Cubs to be the full-time catcher. And they made a big deal about we need a catcher who plays all the time. 5 years, $85 million. That's the one guy they spend any money on. So they started terribly this year. And then on May the 6th, what's today? The 8th, they brought up another catcher. And the Cardinals beat writer reported that even Contreras was surprised by this because when they asked what's he going to do, they said, well, he's going to catch because Contreras is going to play designated hitter and outfield. The catcher that they paid all the money to catch every day. So people lost their minds about it. And the GM, John Mozeliak, actually backed off and has basically said, no, he's not playing. He'd played like 30 games in the outfield in his career. So now they've backed off of that. They're 11-24 or something right now. They are a mess. They signed a guy to catch full time, and they were going to move him to the outfield until the public just completely rioted, I guess, because now they're saying, well, he's just going to DH, just until he gets back on his feet catching. Hey, man. And he's having trouble figuring out our pitchers. Well, how do you figure out the pitchers? You catch them in games when the stakes are the highest. Boy, they are just a hot mess of dumpster fires right now. Corey says, ding dong goes to anyone in sports that is stupid enough to wager on it or get connected to wagering on sports and risk your job. He's talking about Alabama's baseball coach.
No.
Oh, that was the layup right there. I forgot about Brad Bohannon.
Brad Bohannon might be the dingest of dongs that we've ever had. You can't get away with anything like that now.
But tell us the story. So he bet or he changed the lineup, which gave them signals that he bet on the game?
Yeah, so there was suspicious wagering activity that took place on the Bama-LSU game, and it was suspicious because it was one very large wager placed on a college baseball game, which is one of the least wagered on sports that any sports book carries. Korean baseball might get more bets put on it than college baseball. People, I guess, got into that during COVID. So I have not seen... so this report that I'm seeing is that he contacted an ex-high school coach to make the bet for him. He was relaying information to a former high school baseball coach. This is from Darren Rovell, who reported this, who placed suspicious wagers on the LSU Tigers to beat the Alabama Crimson Tide before their game one of a doubleheader or tripleheader, a series on April 28th.
And this was in Cincinnati, right? And I guess there's even video proof where you can tell that he's talking to Bama's ex-baseball coach.
Yeah, and they were scratching players from the matchup, changing the lineup. Yeah, so this former high school coach placed substantial wagers at a Cincinnati sportsbook on the LSU money line, as well as a parlay for the matchup. And LSU went on to sweep Alabama that weekend.
Boy, was he in some kind of trouble or something? I mean, is he going to release his memoir at some point? We're going to find out he owed somebody $1 million, and he was just trying his best to make it up one bet at a time.
It's not been a good year for Bohannon. He also got sued by a former Alabama player for allegedly mishandling this player's injury treatment.
Well, how dare I say it, but it's not been a good year for Alabama. They had
a lot of
associate AD who got in a bunch of trouble, and the basketball's had its issues, and I mean, they didn't win the national championship in football.
Disaster.
I mean, what a disaster. Let's get Buffalo's call. We will end the show today with this. We'll take another ding-dong call or two if we have them, but we will play the Andre Dillard sound that we teased. But let's get Buffalo's call real quick.
Hey, shout out to Annabelle Godoy, because he was the guy that captured that. He may have been a Special Olympics player that went out on the field. I'm just going to throw that out there. It was he rounded that guy up so he didn't get ransacked by the security and they walked him off. That was a really nice thing to see
happen. I got to meet Sean Davis. I was in the Caterpillar suite. You know, I spend a fortune at Caterpillar, and so they give us free tickets. And man, let me tell you, go see one of those games from one of them suites, and you'll be hooked. I mean, they are really, really nice.
Man, I saw one not from a suite, and I had a great time. My son and I really enjoyed ourselves. Anything of the suite's pretty good. And that stadium's so small, there's not a bad seat in the house. They did it right.
It was cool after the game. The doubleheader, they had the Special Olympics unified team of Nashville SC play the Chicago Fire's Special Olympics team. And they pulled out all the stops. I mean, they did the Jumbotron and the lights and the music after a goal and the PA and everything.
That's what it's all about, man. That's good stuff. When we come back, we were talking about the Titans O-line. We actually have a question out on Blaine and Mickey Twitter right now. Who is your projected starting five for the Titans O-line? You can hit us at Blaine and Mickey. When we come back, we're talking about Andre Dillard and who's going to play guard and who's going to play tackle. And when he came here, which wasn't that long ago, maybe he's under the impression that he's the tackle. This was before they drafted Skoronski, but we'll play that audio next. Blade and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. A lot of people weighing in on a bunch of stuff in the Zone TV chat. Vandy Man said some people peed off ramps at Nissan Stadium last night during the delay. Come on, let's be better than that.
Oh, I heard it was a 4-hour delay.
He said people were getting more than rain down below. Shake my head.
She played the whole way, right? Like she went to 1 a.m. or something.
Wow.
Yeah, of course.
She had a short commute last night to get home, so she said, I'm going to stay late. I'm probably in some trouble in my house that my daughter did not make any of those 3 nights. I'm gonna have to.
Oh, because you guys were busy.
We were busy. It's a busy season for my wife's work. We had a lot going on. Son had a baseball game. There's a lot going on. So we'll find the tour somewhere else. We will intercept it. We'll find the tour
Well,
somewhere.
she'd be coming back through. That was our first go round.
Yeah.
Her first 3-day tour.
First 3-day go around. Over 200,000 people squeezed through there in 3 days.
Yeah, she plays like 44 songs, apparently, in those sets.
I told my daughter, here's the thing. You can make this a growth moment for you. You want to be a bass player and a backup singer. You tell yourself, I hated my dad so much after that weekend that I became Taylor Swift's bass player and backup singer because I never wanted to miss another show.
Bang.
I said, forget that you hate me, though. Just use it to fuel you.
Yeah,
then love me.
And she'll never thank you later.
No, she won't.
That's what happened. It was all her.
Well, we'll see how it all works out. Andre Dillard was signed by the Titans this offseason. They got to figure out offensive line. They got to figure it out. They spent a lot of money, a lot of resources. Now, who plays where? But we got to talking about the things that he said when he was brought in. Because we wonder what Skoronski's going to be. Well, what about a guy who was maybe brought here thinking he would play tackle? This is Andre Dillard after he was signed by the Titans this offseason.
Left tackle is definitely what I have my eyes set on. That's my goal. It's, I'm going to compete and give everything I have to get that spot. But obviously, I'm willing to do whatever is best for the team at the end of the day. But left tackle is definitely what I have my sights set on.
It's before the draft.
Yeah, sights set on left tackle, but I'll do whatever is best for the team, as I said that I would say.
Yep.
But and then he rounded back around but left tackle is where I'm targeting to be. But what I can remember about him is how he was looking after he round back around. He was kind of looking around like, hey, yeah, I'm playing tackle. Like, that's kind of how he was looking like. I don't know about no guard, but if they want to pay me to play guard, okay. Maybe that's where we'll end up. I don't know. Hope not. So, naturally they're going to play the best. And then if he's not better than Skoronski, then Skoronski will be there. But that's going to be a heck of a battle.
Yeah.
Because Skoronski's technique is so already NFL ready. Dillard is a good technician. Looks as though he's more athletic than Skoronski, but you can't really see Skoronski's athletic ability besides his get-off because he's so technically sound. You never get to see him in positions where he's reaching or off balance or any of these things. That's what I'm saying. So how good of an athlete is he? He could be a phenomenal athlete, and that's why we never see it. Or it could be that he just understands his opponent and how to attack him, or these are all going to be new opponents. So I like to see him, early in camp instead of as he learns what each guy is good at, and then he kind of has this photographic memory. I kind of have those things as well to help me be a better player and understand my limitations and never put myself in those compromising positions. That's what his coach said. That's what you better learn real quick or you will not last. And I'm sure Skoronski's a really good athlete, but how athletic, I don't know. You can see it in Dillard. You can see why he went first round. You see it. I think injury bugs on a team that had really good offensive linemen when he got injured, still trying to get back into the lineup was hard after they moved forward, and then he had to wait till somebody got injured, and that's why we saw him get to play guard. So it's going to be a good battle and probably really good for the team as well. It may end up deciding that they have to have both of them, then Petit Ferrer, the guy moves to guard. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Who had a solid year. I mean, it could have been a little bit better there at the end there, the last 3 games. I think he was playing with an ankle, so we'll see. But it's always good to have competition at the O-line, and they needed it, so they're gonna be all right though.
Well, and like you said, just find the best 5 guys. Find the best 5.
It's gonna be interesting.
And I know you can't speak in absolutes in sports, but I don't know how there's any way it could be worse than last year.
No,
And I'm not going to be the guy that says it could never be worse. You don't know. Things happen.
Right.
But oh my gosh.
If it's as bad as that, then there's gonna be a whole bunch of people unemployed. I'm gonna just say that that's how absolute I am about it. There's no way that's happening again.
Well, and when will Will Levis be starting if it's that bad? Like soon, be game 6. I mean, will he pick it up when Tannehill picked it up? What, back in 2019?
Well, it was because of Marcus's poor play too as well. Or up and down play, yeah. But we shall see. It's gonna be an exciting time for the Titans fans, though.
Hit us up on Twitter at Blaine and Mickey. Question out there is, who are your starting 5 for the Titans O-line? Who are your starting 5? And people are doing it, listing them from left to right. Give us your starting 5. We can get into that some more tomorrow. Also got some interesting predictions for the Titans season this year from one of those ESPN gambling / predictor guys. We can get into that tomorrow as well. But right now, it's time for us to hand the baton to 3HL. They'll run you the rest of the way home.
In the meantime.
In between time. Peace.
Peace.